The town of Wushan lay quiet under a blanket of pre-dawn mist. But before the sun broke the horizon, over 200 children were already assembled in the training ground, their breath misting in the cool air. At the front stood Hillman, captain of the Baruch Guard, a mountain of a man whose scarred arms bore witness to a lifetime of battle. Without a word, he drove his fist into a boulder the size of a wagon wheel and shattered it to gravel. Then, as casually as lifting a loaf of bread, he hoisted a 300-pound rock with one hand. "If you want to be a powerful warrior," he said, "you must work hard from youth." Among those children, in the front row with an intensity far beyond his 6 years, stood a small brown-haired boy named Linley Baruch. A year passed. One evening, Linley's father, Hog Baruch, called him into his candlelit study and revealed a secret that would define the boy's life. "Your great-grandfather," Hog said, his voice thick with pride and grief, relying on the power of the Dragonblood, made our Baruch clan shake the entire continent. The Baruch family were Dragonblood Warriors, one of the 4 supreme warrior bloodlines, fighters whose veins carried the essence of dragons. But that glory was ancient history. Their ancestral warblade, Slaughterer, had been lost. Their lands sold off piece by piece. They were now impoverished nobility in a forgotten town. Linley's mission was clear: restore the clan's honor, reclaim the blade, and prove the dragon blood still burned in his veins. He was 7 years old. A year later, Linley was cleaning the old ancestral hall when a broken drawer gave way, and something small and dark tumbled across the floor. A ring, plain, unremarkable, jet black. But when he picked it up, he felt a strange warmth. He slipped it onto his finger, and it fit perfectly. He tried to pull it off. It would not budge. The ring had chosen him. Inside that simple black band slept the soul of a man who had been waiting 8,000 years to be found. Not long after, peace in Wushan was shattered. A distant rumble grew into a thunderous roar as a Velocidragon descended, a 7th-rank magical beast standing 2 stories high and stretching 30 meters from snout to tail. Its scales were iron plates, its jaws could swallow a man whole. Adventurers tried to stop it, but their weapons glanced off its hide. The beast inhaled, and the air itself caught fire. A torrent of flames engulfed stone houses, reducing them to rubble. Hillman threw himself between the monster and the children, shielding them with his own body. It was Linley's first taste of true power, raw, terrible, and utterly indifferent to ordinary life. Then the sky itself tore open. 2 figures descended, a grey-robed magus mounted on a massive black dragon, and a green-robed saint-level swordsman whose blade hummed with power to level mountains. They clashed above Wushan, and the world went mad. Spells detonated like falling stars. Sword light carved trenches into the earth. Shockwaves collapsed half the buildings in town. Linley watched from behind a crumbling wall, transfixed by the realization that humans could wield the power of gods. When the battle ended, something had changed in him. The world was far bigger than Wushan. And he wanted to conquer it. That night, as Linley lay in bed, the black ring suddenly trembled. A misty ray of light shot forth, coalescing into the translucent figure of an old man with long white hair and ancient blue magus robes. Linley scrambled backward, but the old man simply laughed, a warm, grandfatherly laugh. "Linley," he said, "your grandpa Doring is a saint-level grand magus of earth magic. Even if you don't have much talent, I can still teach you." Doring Cowart, a legend who lived 8,000 years ago during the Powant Empire. His soul had been bound to the coiling dragon ring after death, waiting through millennia for someone worthy. And he had chosen Linley Baruch. That same night, Doring taught Linley to sense elemental energies. Linley closed his eyes, reached out with his consciousness, and gasped. The darkness behind his eyelids bloomed with light. Thousands upon thousands of earth-colored specks surrounded him, dense as a starry sky. "Too many, tens of thousands," he whispered. Doring's eyebrows shot up. This was extraordinary. Then Linley noticed another light mingling among the particles, wind essence, cool and flowing. Dual element affinity was vanishingly rare. Linley was not just a dragon-blood heir, he was a natural-born magus prodigy with mastery over both earth and wind. Months passed, and Linley trained in secret magic with Doring by night, warrior drills with Hillman by day. But one morning in the back courtyard, he found something unexpected. A tiny black mouse, no bigger than his thumb, sat on a mossy stone gnawing on a rock. Its teeth sank into stone as easily as bread. Doring materialized beside him. A shadow mouse, the old mage said. The infant of a violet shadow mouse, a magical beast that could reach rank 7 or higher. The mouse looked up at Linley with big, glossy black eyes, squeaked once, and went back to chewing its rock. Something about the little creature tugged at his heart. Over 10 days, Linley tamed the mouse with bits of dried fruit and patient kindness. It followed him everywhere. But when Linley prepared to leave for Finlay City, he tried to leave the mouse behind. He walked down the manor path, and then he heard it, frantic squeaking. The tiny black mouse was scurrying after him as fast as its legs could carry. It climbed his pant leg, clung there trembling, and looked up with eyes that said, "Don't leave me." Linley sighed and laughed, scooping the mouse into his palm. "Bibi Bibi Bibi," the mouse squeaked happily. "That's it. I'll call you Bibi." And just like that, the smallest member of the Baruch clan had found his way home. Word of Linley's talents spread. At 10 years old, he rode south to the Ernst Institute, the finest magic academy on the continent, 20 kilometers from the holy capital of Finlay. The campus was a city unto itself, its grand buildings crowned with soaring spires and floating magical lights. Linley was assigned to dorm 1987, where he met 3 boys who would become brothers. Yale, the tall and confident heir of the Dawson mercantile empire. George, the refined son of a viscount, scholarly and level-headed. And Reynolds, a hot-headed firecracker from a military family, built low and wide, with a temper that matched his loyalty. 4 boys from different worlds, thrown together by fate. They bickered. They laughed. They became inseparable. Months into their first year, Reynolds challenged Linley to a spar in the back mountains. He was confident, he came from a military family and had trained his whole life. But Linley had been training with a saint-level Grand Magus in secret. The spar lasted barely a minute. Linley flowed around Reynolds' attacks like wind through grass, then took him to the ground with a single precise motion. Reynolds lay in the dust, stunned, and then he laughed. "All right, you're good," he said, offering his hand. From that day forward, Reynolds was his fiercest rival and his closest friend. The Brotherhood of Dorm 1987 was sealed in sweat and respect. Doring was not just a master of magic, he had been one of the continent's greatest sculptors. "A mage's most important tool is control," he told Linley. "And there is no better training than stone sculpting." So Linley learned to carve. At first, his figures were clumsy, but he practiced obsessively. The tap-tap-tap of his chisel became a second heartbeat. Soon, his sculptures were beautiful, detailed, expressive, alive. Unbeknownst to him, these sculptures would one day make his fortune. But for now, they were simply his meditation, his art, his joy. 6 years passed like a dream. The scrawny boy grew lean and tall. His warrior training brought him to the 4th rank, no small feat. His magic, guided by Doring's ancient wisdom, reached the 4th rank as well, a dual-element magus of rare promise. Bibi grew too, still palm-sized, but fearsome. His tiny teeth could bite through stone, and his speed was a blur. He became Linley's shadow, his protector, his ever-hungry companion. Through it all, Linley carved. His sculptures filled his room, each one better than the last. He was no longer just a promising student. He was a quiet legend in the making. At 14, theory was no longer enough. Linley entered the mountain range of magical beasts, a vast ancient forest where magical beasts roamed freely and the weak became meat. He faced windwolves, rank 5 predators that hunted in packs. He survived ambushes, killed assassins, nearly died more times than he could count. He began practicing the secret Dragonblood manual, the ancient techniques of the Baruch warriors. Something stirred in his blood. And Bibi proved a lethal ally, those tiny fangs pierced the hide of beasts 10 times his size. Man and mouse, air and shadow, they became a force to be reckoned with. Weeks deep in the mountain range, Linley emerged at the forest's edge, caked in mud and blood, his eyes carrying the weight of what he had seen. And there he found her, a young noble woman, her fine dress torn, terror in her eyes as a pack of magical beasts closed in. Linley moved without thinking. His blade flashed. The beasts fell. He stood before her, breathing hard, and offered his hand. Her name